All right, so today we're going to start chapter 1. We're looking at 1-1. We're doing like a part A and then a part B. So today we're doing specifically, what three things are we talking about?
Points, lines.
Points, lines, and planes, right? Now, this should be stuff that you guys have seen at some time before today, correct? Yes. Okay. Can anyone tell me, let's just start with point. If we were going to model that, what's something you would write to show a point? It's not a trick question. Okay, what other type of word would you use to show point? Plot, just a dot, right? Okay, so just going to look like a singular dot. What is always next to that dot so you know that it's a point?
Numbers.
Not numbers.
I don't know what it's called.
It's how we know what to name it. Oh. Every point has to have something with it so we know what point it is, because you could have 8 points, right?
I definitely.
Letter, right? Whew. Until it's been summertime. Yep. So, model is just a point, always a capital letter next to it, okay? So, when you draw it, we're just going to say it's drawn as a dot. Right? Just like we showed above. And then we already talked about how to name it. It's named using a what?
A capital letter.
Capital letter, right? Because it won't always be the letter P. It can be any letter that you want. Sometimes it's given to you. Okay? All right. Facts. I don't expect us to know this one till after we hear it, but dots have no dimension. What that means is there's no width, length, depth to a dot. Okay? All right. So then words and symbols that we would use to name that would be one of two things. Either point P, or we would just write capital P, which I know sometimes it's hard to tell because they basically look the same, but we always use capital letters when naming a point. Not too bad, yes? Okay, somebody tell me if you... What in the world? I hate when it does this to me. Okay. All right. Every once in a while, it just goes crazy. Okay, so if you were going to draw a picture of a line, somebody tell me what you would draw.
A line.
Okay. What would that line maybe contain?
Numbers.
Okay. Points. Good. It would contain how many points would it at least have to have? 2. And we just talked about how to name points, so what would those 2 points have to have in order to know what they are? Capital letters. Okay, we're going to call A and B. Now, sometimes there's a lowercase letter out to the side, so we're going to call it M, because there's going to be 2 ways that we can name a line. One will be based off points, the other will be named off the lowercase letter. Okay, so when we draw it, we're just going to draw it with an arrow on each end. Okay, Hector, can you get that, please? All right, so what do we know about when we're naming it? Has to have 2 what?
Points.
Either has to have 2 points or a lowercase letter. How's it going?
This is Jonathan.
Hey, Jonathan.
This hour.
Okay. Just got started. I'm going to give you that. You can kind of just jump in with this and then I'll catch you up. Yeah, you're fine there. Okay, 2 points or what type of letter? Lowercase or capital? What? Lowercase. When we're naming a line, it has to be lowercase. Okay. facts about a line. There is no thickness to a line, but it does extend forever in both directions. Okay, extends forever in one dimension. Hello. Okay, no worries. Bye. Okay, anybody know how we name lines? Anybody want to take a guess? Come on. Look at the picture at the top. What do you think we would use in this case? Oh, we are going to use an arrow for part of it. What else would you need to use? What capital letter specifically on this one? A and B, right? A and B. And then what would I put above A and B so we know it's a line? Yeah, a line. Okay. Has to have arrows above it. Now, do I have to put A first? No. So you could write it AB with a line above or BA. But it has to have those arrows. Sorry, I don't know if I can move that away. There we go. Okay, the other way we could name it is call it line what? What letter shows this line? M. Yeah, lowercase m. Good. Okay, so we can either call it AB or BA using the points, or we can use line M if it gives you that lowercase letter out to the side. All right, so we have a plane here. I know that's kind of hard to see. I'll zoom in just a little bit so you can see that a little better. Okay, so we have a plane here. How many points are listed in this plane? No. Three. How do we know? Yeah, because I have a dot with a capital letter, X, Y, and Z. Okay, and then S is also listed up there. Again, similar to the line. That's another way to name that point. Okay. All right, so on a plane, we know it's a slanted, four-sided figure. Okay, we just talked about ways to name it. You have to have three what? You have to have 3 points. Or a capital letter, right? That capital letter up in the corner. I swear, I've got to get that fixed. Okay, similar to a line, planes also have no thickness, but instead of them extending forever in one dimension, they would extend forever in how many dimensions? 2, yeah. Oh, we know. No, I like that we answer questions, even though we're just throwing out random numbers. Okay. All right, last part of this. So it extends forever in 2 dimensions, and then when we name it, we'll either just call it plane XYZ. You have to use at least 3 points when you name a plane. Or you can use the one capital letter that it gives you, and we'll call it plane S. Okay, so this is gonna be important to you because when we start going over this, we're just gonna do some like practice together today. I have a few more things to tell you that we'll write underneath this, but it's important that you know what the model looks like, and then it's important that you know how we name it, okay? So those things are important, which really that tells you here, we just wrote them specifically at the bottom, okay? All right, so you guys did like on your paper like this. You can kind of flip it back this way because we're just going to write some facts underneath that paper here. I can't really show you that on the iPad, but I'm just going to scroll to a new screen. Okay, so we're just going to go over a few facts on lines and planes that we talked about. How many points do you have to name a line? 2. So it takes 2 points to name a line. And then how many points do you have to name a plane? 3. Okay, then I'm just going to give you 3 definitions. We'll talk real quickly about line segment ray and opposite ray because we'll see those a little bit, and then we'll do some practice together. Okay? All right, so a line segment is just a portion of a line with 2 endpoints. So a line segment is going to look just like a line, but instead of having 2 arrows, what is it going to have at the end? Yeah, 2 dots. Good. So if we draw a line segment, okay, what would those 2 points have to have? Capital letters. Okay, we're going to call them C and D. Okay, and then their symbol, how we would name them. Can someone tell me how we would name this line segment? It's going to be it look almost exactly how we named a line. How do we name our line? You can look on the front if you need to. Yeah, CD, but instead of a line over it, it's just going to be a line segment, right? Is there a different way we could write this besides just CD? DC. Yeah, so remember for lines and line segments, it doesn't matter which order you put them in as long as you have those 2 points listed. Okay? All right, somebody tell me something you know about array. What's different from array from what we've talked about? Anybody? Come on. I know we've heard this before. We at least have an idea. Someone know what array looks like?
If you showed me, I would.
Okay, let me draw you a picture.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so how is this different?
How's a point in there?
Yeah, so it has part of a line with 1 endpoint. going in one direction. Now, this one you do have to be a little careful on, okay? This point right here, didn't leave myself enough room, is called our initial point. Okay, because array has to have a starting point. So our initial point here is A. So it does matter how we name the point, right? So can I start with B and name B first if B is not my initial point? No. So every time on array, notice all the other things that didn't really matter, but on array, the way you name it does make a difference. So our symbol here is going to be AB, and what do you think you're putting over AB? Yep, a line with one arrow, always to the right, okay? Because you'll name your initial point first, so that will tell you what it would look like. Okay? Questions on that? All right, last one. If you still have room under there, underneath where you're at, you can keep going. I just got to go to a new page. So now that we've talked about rays and we know what one ray is, what do we think opposite rays are? Say it again, Vic. Just one ray going the other way? Yeah, two rays going opposite of each other, right? Okay, so two rays with the same endpoint. That extend in opposite directions. Okay, so if I have one ray that goes to the left, XW, right, and then I have another ray that's going to go off to the right. Now, what does that look like, the whole thing? If you just look at that whole picture, what does it look like we see? Yeah, a line. So, do two opposite rays form a line? Yes. Okay, but what if I want you to name what are the two rays? Can somebody tell me how I would name those two different rays? True, so specifically, what would be the first one? XW, because you have to name that initial point first. Okay, so XW, everybody sees that because I would start here and go this way. All right, then what would be my second one? XY, good. I start at the initial point and then I go the opposite direction. So rays are ones you have to be more careful on just because they're going to be specific on which point you write first. Okay? All right, questions on that? Okay, notes you can put up for today. We're going to do some practice on stuff together, so I'll put that on the board. Yeah.